The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and joining me, as always, is the one-eyed knight, the lore keeper, the Italian stallion, Connor Ciacchiti.
Hello. Hello. I like the last one. That's cool.
You know what? It was on the spot. It felt right, you know?
Sensational.
And joining us this week, laughing at this first drop, we have the MVP of Podathon, the iconoclast, one of very few people who can say that they have bested me in Star Wars trivia. It is Alden DIaz, host of Octo Radio, among other things. And you'll do all your pluggables in here in a minute.
Yes, yeah. Hi, gentlemen. Hi, Italian stallion. I enjoyed that one too. That was nice. It
was on the mind because I just horked down some Alfredo.
Oh, okay. Just straight out of the jar, like a drink.
Yeah, and that's why I'm diabetic now.
Yeah. Oh no. You have any sad drops?
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm
funny you ask.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
My favorite.
My favorite is the sensational one. That's why I burst out laughing.
Yeah, that's Spencer's
so
favorite
good.
too. That's Spencer's favorite too. Like by a country mile. We'll be in the recording something that like there's no reason to do that drop, and Spencer will just be like, I want to see Future.
It cracks me up. Yeah, it's been an interesting day, interesting time. Thanks for mentioning the Podathon. That was a great event. Over $16,000 raised for Make-A-Wish Foundation by Around the Galaxy, Podcast of the Wills, Bombadcast, my show, everybody. You were a tech producer in there. Connor was also a producer in there, at least in some regard. Weren't you like kind of present? I can't remember who was there.
No,
the
crossover. Was in the chat all day.
The crossover between who worked on it and who is a friend of us.
I was just in a chat and I wrote a few questions for the Podathon trivia.
That counts as producing.
One of them got asked. I was very happy about that.
Which one did you write that got asked?
It was the Davenfeld one.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
That was a good question. I watched that whole match. Star Wars Explained, of course, they were there. Brought in a lot of charity dollars. Had a great time. Great players. Jarod was there. Redeemed himself. You mentioned the charity, the trivia aspect, and that I'm one of the few people that has ever bested you. I share that distinction with a point of controversy that we will not name. We will not give him power by speaking him, but he's in a little bit of hot water right now. So the mystery continues.
I am going to call attention to that whenever we discuss our sponsor, because I'm casting the gauntlet. But
interesting.
I would like for you to do your pluggables before I issue my challenge here.
Sure, yeah. So Octo Radio, Star Wars podcast, is where I talk about Star Wars mostly in an interview format, although we also do cover, of course, the films and television that are coming out, sometimes the novels. Most recently, I'm coming off of a really fun twofer of Mercedes Varnado, aka Sasha Banks, who played Koska Reeves, actually, in The Mandalorian season 2.
It's an O sound.
It is an O sound.
I thought it was Koska, not Koska.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, I asked her straight up. I was like, which one is it? And she's like, it's Koska. So Koska Reeves. Then I also had Ryan Johnson, the director of The Brothers Bloom. And that's it. That's all he's done.
Yes.
And
Looper.
Looper.
Yeah, Looper's pretty good.
And The Fly from Breaking Bad. And he was, he's Ryan Johnson. So he was wonderful. We also have a couple other shows on that network. I'm also the co-host and co-producer of Casterly Talk with Ken Knapsack, who a lot of your audience will know. from the Schmodown world, comedian, author of Why We Love Star Wars. We do House of the Dragon coverage right now, as well as Rings of Power coverage. We're going to be doing Willow probably when that comes around in November. So I do that. And then you stop it right now. You show some respect. Show some respect for Willow.
Not show any respect for Willow.
You're projecting onto Willow. You're projecting your own disappointment onto Willow. Has nothing to do with Willow. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff. Busy. Also, a couple, what is it, irons in the fire? Is that the phrase that people say?
Yeah.
I have a couple things that I haven't announced or talked about, things I'm working on. Talent scouting, figuring things out. But yeah, fun times.
Excellent. I don't have to say this. Everybody go watch and listen to everything Alden does. He is the best of us in many ways as a creator of content, as much as I know that phrase makes him want to put his balls in a blender.
It does.
Unfortunately, it is a very useful catch-all for doing things on the internet, and the phrase is too convenient not to use. But yeah, and obviously, if you haven't yet, go watch the two-parter Alden and I did on the Fandom Menace, which is again, I am proud to say that the piece of work I have made that I'm most proud of involves you, good sir.
Oh, thank you, my friend. It was very what's the word I'm looking for here? I want to say enriching, which has a really positive connotation, but it was enriching. It was good to use what we do to unpack something that needed unpacking in a positive way. That was still a fun conversation that had our personalities in it, but was important because there are people that join Star Wars fandom like right now, and then there's just like this elephant, and they don't know how it got in the room.
Yeah,
and so that they should have a way to know. And so if we could help with that at all, then I'm happy to.
Yeah. Very, very proud of that episode. A two-parter. Go check it out if you haven't yet already. But before we jump into Andor talk, we have a word from our lovely sponsors at Sunday's Bloody Mary, and this is where the challenge comes into play. Any of you who follow any of us on the Bird app will know that there is a new mysterious character on the town. I'm going to invoke an oft maligned comic book movie. I feel like Sabretooth in X-Men Origins Wolverine when it comes to Scotty. Nobody kills you but me.
That's one of the better parts of that movie. So.
That's the best line in the movie, and Liev Schreiber delivers it perfectly. There is a new Twitter account out there. I think it's what is it, like the Anti-Scotty J-Ro Association?
Yes, I
believe
that
is that like its full name? It's a Scotty J-Ro hate account. And they're walking on my turf, and I would very much like to remove them from the equation. So anybody who can accurately deduce the identity of the operator of this account, you will personally from me get some Sunday's Bloody Mary on me. On me, I will provide you. I am putting a bounty on the Anti-Scotty J-Ro Association. On me, you will get a Bloody Mary mix of your choice from me. And that ranges from the spicy mix, the mild mix, and the traditional mix, as well as the pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus, and some merch, like the cute little tomato heart hat, which makes me happy every time I look at it. So you guys can go to sundaysbloodymary.com and use code TNAP at checkout to get 10% off your order. Or you can deduce the identity of our new adversary on Twitter, and you'll get some courtesy of me. The bounty
really fair.
Has been issued.
That's a really good offer for everybody. Sundays rocks, and
we want to bring this person to justice.
Scotty Justice rocks too.
This has
Justice
to be clipped.
pairs great with a Bloody Mary. Yeah, this should be clipped. Absolutely.
Yeah. I keep threatening to like make an actual like ad to roll in the middle of the show for Sundays, and yeah, that's playing at the end once I eventually do that. But we are not here for the trial of the Anti-Scotty J-Ro Association, not yet at least. We're coming for you, you furry fuck. Got to be careful what account you're logged into. We are here to talk about episode 4 of Andor. Yeah. I was like, wait, this is week 2. No, we already got the first 2 episodes. Loving this show very much. And I also want to say, before we jump into the conversation proper, this is not going to be the first time you guys see, or it's going to be the last time you guys see Alden during Andor talk, and it's for a very specific reason. Alden has his has a threshold for the grittiness of Star Wars, and I very badly want to take Alden's temperature as this season goes on. And that said, Alden, I'm going to throw to you for your thoughts, your overall thoughts on the episode first.
Yeah, I mean, building off of that direct point, this is the best in those regards. Those specific, is this, there's a problem that goes on with a lot of stuff that's been happening since Batman Begins, more so The Dark Knight, but it was starting in Begins of, is this thing apologizing for being what it is? And you have some things, and this is not a comment on quality at all. I know that's been a big problem too, is we have to bash one thing to raise another up. And then if you bring that up, everyone says, why don't you let me criticize? I'm criticize my job. No one ever said that. Contain yourself.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of something like The Mandalorian or something like Star Wars Rebels, that type of stuff, makes zero apologies for being Star Wars. You can fall sometimes into a pattern with either adapting or with adding a chapter to a larger thing where you have to push it and it needs to change and it needs to be different. There needs to be different feels. Visions was great about that, just as a recent example. But you cannot, and even some within something like the Bad Batch, the Muchi episode, which was one of my favorites, it was called Rampage, and then Camino Lost are tonally so very different. One is a creature based kids adventure romp, and then the other one is the looming boot of fascism just crushes their home, and so you can do all those things. And Andor,
Topeka City quite literally gets carpet bombed into the ocean.
Yeah, just and they're in it, and they're gonna drown if they don't escape, and it's really heavy. And identity and what's going on, and a lot of that is cranked all the way up to 11 here about what is the boot of fascism, how does it happen, what is the slow creep, what is class traitorism, what is even racism. I mean, this was the show that had a character identified as Aldhani male, Canary male, dark features. It could not be more blatant about what it's doing. And in that, though, you run a risk, not in the politics, but in the grit. The politics have always been there. The politics are there. The Ewoks are political, very blatantly. But in the moving away, Rogue One kept a foot in it because you had Lyra Urso, who sort of has some of that air. You have Chirrut, who has some of that air. You have Darth Vader, who has a lot of that air. But you do not have that person here yet. Who knows what'll happen? But this is the most removed from the fantastical and pulp side of Star Wars.
Wrong, Alden. Star Killer is canon confirmed.
You're right. You're right. So this is.
I unironically saw a tweet.
Does take place after the second one? Yeah. Look. All I'm saying is, if we go back to that gallery and that suit starts to move, and then it's Sam Witwer, of course I'm gonna cheer. I'll turn into myself from 2008. I will revert back, of course. But all jokes aside,
that's an episode we have to steal Alden's phrase from earlier. Irons in the fire. I have a lot of thoughts about the Force Unleashed that after Andor season we're getting into.
Yeah, I mean that's I don't want to scoop that conversation here, but
no, you're good. I just wanted to reiterate that because I teased that a month and a half ago, and then
it's worth talking about because people forget not only was that game the phenomenon that it was 3.5 for a while. It had that distinction of being this is the only game that George ever stamped. That was the thing for a while. It had a lot of weight for its run. The time between two sort of kind of shook up that, but when you got the time between Force Unleashed 1 and Force Unleashed 2, that was just what happened between 3 and 4. That it was like playing a secret little saga movie, in a lot of ways. But yeah, so this show, the way I've described it is that it does the balancing act so beautifully, particularly in 3 and in this one, I think, of if there's a fence between Star Wars and not Star Wars, it runs all the way up to that fence and shakes it and then backs off. It never climbs it. It never jumps over. It doesn't, and it shouldn't. It always keeps a firm, it keeps its foot, at least one foot in Star Wars at all times, where you'll have things like, especially episodes 1 and 2 are such a punch in the face, but then it ends on the old mentor shows up and takes the young guy out of his home. They cross the threshold and you're like, oh, okay. It is still that. And then this one, of course, there was that, I will not name this person, but went and tweeted like, so glad to be watching a Star Wars that isn't interested in reminding me that it's Star Wars. Oh yeah, well, good for you, because now he's entered Star Wars. Like, and that was the point. We've got Coruscant. Now we have Mon Mothma. Now we have Luthen Rail, whose gallery is, yes, for nerds, but it is a representation of this great history before us. Luthen Rail.
But remember, no Easter eggs, guys.
Yeah, there's no Easter eggs, and for some people that's a problem, and for some people that made it better. And both of those people were wrong. Like, both of those groups were wrong. Luthen, who we'll talk about, is fascinating to me, and he's one of my biggest takeaways here of like just adoration, because yes, he gives that mystical moment with the Kyber crystal, but what is he saying? He's talking about the last time that we fought an enemy that was coming to crush us, and he holds that so dear. Like, he's a student. Luthen Rail played KOTOR and is now like, we got to do that again.
What a sentence.
It's really interesting. So I love this episode. My overall thoughts are love. And I also love that this is the first Star Wars walk and talk episode. This is the West Wing. Like,
yeah.
Even on the ground on Aldhani with Vel and her gang, that whole rebel camp, there's blasters. They never fire them. There's no action. And I like that.
I agree with you completely. The Italian Stallion.
I thought it was really good. Yeah, I think to sort of echo Alden's thoughts, I think the fact that there was really no action and just how sort of like confident the storytelling is, with just being like, all right, we're just going to have just dialogue-based episode here, and it's going to be fucking awesome. And it was. Yeah. I'm fascinated with Denis Gao's portrayal as Deidre Miro. Like, this is just my read on the character. I don't know if you guys will agree or disagree, but like, she sort of has this like commanding presence to her that's like not really like out there yet. She's like slowly trying to unearth it. Like, she's like for instance, I feel like she's slowly just trying to like build upon it, like Lincoln Logs, when you're building a Lincoln Log house, like that sort of thing. Like, just slowly build it, and then you got to make the house. And for her, it's like she wants that power, she wants that authority, but like at every single turn, all the ISB supervisors are like, nah, go back to your sector, go do what you do, don't bother us. This isn't your what's the word? This isn't your jurisdiction or whatever.
Right.
And so I'm just really fascinated with her portrayal right now. And I know you're not watching, Denis, but if you are, this is your invitation to come on tonight to talk about your I don't know, your work with Star Wars, as well as other topics.
She's brilliant.
And on the flip side, Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma in this episode, masterful. Yeah. Like, her little talk with Luthen might be my favorite piece of that, and like her talk with her dickhead husband might be my two favorite pieces of acting from her so far, at least.
Whenever Mon Mothma's beta male husband shows up, I had this moment where I looked at him and I went, who's this Stellan Gios looking mother? And then he's just like, I want to hang out with my cool, fun friends like Sly Moore and
It's like-
other out and out space fascists. I was like, oh damn, shame on me for even thinking the name of Stellan Gios looking at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a really nice aesthetic, but you know what? So do they all.
Yeah,
You know who's a great
deceiving.
dresser? Sheev Palpatine. Undeniably dripping at all times. And that's how they get you.
Yep.
Masameda too. Masameda always dripping.
It's
Sly
like
Moore,
it's
always.
like Obi-Wan Kenobi says, your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them.
It's true. It's true. And there's a lot of that going on here, intentionally or otherwise. I mean, a lot of what this episode is that the rebellion, or these proto-rebellions, of which Cassian rattles off like 5 different factions, which was fun to hear the partisans sort of mentioned. Like, theoretically, somebody's out there not knowing Sauce coming into the show. Maybe they didn't see the trailers and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear that and to see the fragile piece that they have to choose. Like, they are all angry. Like, Vel's angry at Luthen for changing the game and changing the plan. All of Vel's people, and I'm doing my best to learn all their names. So
I know one of them is Nemec.
Nemec's the
other
nerd.
Yeah, Nemec's
Yeah.
the nerd. I can't remember the name of Richie from the Skeen. Skeen is the guy.
Richie from the Bear.
Yeah.
yeah, he's awesome.
Well,
Yeah, Skeen. I know there's the lieutenant. So like, there's
Lieutenant
like
Gorn.
there's 6 of them in
Love
general.
that guy.
And you know, my like nerd ass. The second they were like, so you make 7. I was like, 7 people storming a fortress, 7 samurai. Like, I was immediately like,
Oh
this is
shit! I
hidden
didn't
fortress,
even
7
think of
samurai.
that.
Like, we're out at the camp. Like, of course, like we gotta always do those callbacks in a good way. But they all have to choose a piece. They're not happy about this. They're not having a good time. There is no unity. Luthen's network is built on lies. You know, it's one of the first parallels that he has to Bruce Wayne, of which there are many, is that Bruce, not the best at communicating with his own teams, not the best at trust. And Luthen has a little bit of that too, where it's like you can tell that he's in the inner circle with Mothma, or Mothma's in the inner circle with him, however the power hierarchy goes there. But he's ruthless. He's very ruthless and very paranoid. And it requires a lot of that. And the whole episode is people trying to, and this was sort of my like overall like thematic takeaway, is like, can you affect the world around you? It's people like, hello, would you please listen to me, on both sides. The Imperials have that with Deidre. And I mean, and the Rebels have it too, but specifically like that Deidre ISB like Monday morning meeting is just everybody there desperately trying to have a moment of like significance. Like, do I matter? Did I do good? And the Empire, they have the structure and they have the meetings and they have everything that the Rebels right now don't have, but it means nothing because they don't have actual appreciation for the other human beings in the room. Like, if you don't say what they want you to say, then it doesn't matter that we're all sitting here. That's not unity. Sitting together is not unity.
Yeah.
Clearly.
All right. You're Alden. Connor, is that all you got for overall thoughts?
No, just another thing I wanted to add, because like it was just really cool seeing Cassian just sort of start to really figure out for himself if he's going to fight for this, whatever the fuck cause it is, to him at least. We know what it is as the audience, but like he doesn't know, or if he's just going to keep fighting for himself. And obviously we know he doesn't really have the choice to do that, because it's like he's on another planet. I don't think he probably has the best means of transportations to get back to Ferrix, but it's like internally, where's he at? And so like at the end of this episode, we see that like he's slowly getting there, and I'm really just fascinated with his story so far.
Well, that's a fun, twist on common Star Wars tropes right there, isn't it? How often is your hero willing to do hero shit? It's almost everybody. I think the biggest stretch you have is maybe Rey.
Yeah.
Who has that impulse of like, yeah, I'd like to go back home though.
And Han.
And
which is why they bond.
Yeah,
you know?
which is why but even then, like just with like your main character, like
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
archetype of like, you're swept off of whatever, like,
yeah,
East Kabumfuck planet, and now you're a hero. And normally it's very whoop whoop, I'm the hero. With Cassian, like, it's trial by fire. Like, you don't get a choice. We're gonna make
Yeah.
you a hero.
And
We're going
I
to
love
make you be something bigger than just yourself.
there's that little
Mhm.
moment that just reminded me of what you were saying, Jared, near the end, where like Lieutenant Gorn hands him like a data pad, and he's like, "All right, you're gonna learn, the freighter specs and the details of the garrison." And like everyone's looking at him, and he looks back at them, and he's like, "Can I eat my food?" It's like this
Yeah.
man just wants to just live as have some semblance of a normal life as much as he can before like he's thrust off, and like this cell is just like yes but also no.
Yeah, it's hard to like cling to any sort of humanity during these times, and you sort of see how everybody has a different approach to that. Even in the Imperial side, like they do a great job of putting you in a situation where everybody in that ISB building that works there is awful, but you are endeared to Deidre because the fundamentals of what she's saying. If they were not, if this was your first Star Wars ever, and you did not know the inner workings of the Empire or whatever, what she's saying is like, I'm just trying to fix my mistake. I'm just trying to do a good job. I'm not trying to be a climber. Like all of those things, especially like women being disrespected in the workplace on that real world.
Yeah.
Well, like there's all of that endears you to her, but at the same time, like she is on the side of evil, a willing participant who's, as we learn toward the end, her detention numbers are some of the best ones. So she is brutal. She comes from the security side of it, or the defense side of it, something like that. So
Law
it's
enforcement.
Yeah, enforcement. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing to see them play with those different angles of people trying to be people. But to your point, Jared, like Cassian does resist way more, and that's why I love what Luthen says to him, like, whether it's 20 million credits or a stolen whatever, they'll hang you with the same rope. I'm paraphrasing that,
Yeah.
but it's true. Like to them, it's all the same. Like, and that the whole argument of why not give it all at once, which we know he will. Spoilers for Rogue One. But it's that idea of taking a piece of you bit by bit by bit until you're completely run down, which was a beautiful piece of Saw Gerrera foreshadowing, intentional.
Oh yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
The Saw is that guy that's like, no, I'll pick every fight, and then he literally is the rebellion's Vader by the time he dies.
Down to
There's
the
not much of me
sound
left.
effect.
Yep. Yep.
No, I think that's an excellent point. And with I lost my train of thought. We're gonna keep going. That'll come back to me eventually. I had a thing and then it went away. And it's like on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, moving on.
It'll hit you when you're like trying to go to sleep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then I will edit this whole episode just to put it in there because I'm that vain. No, to overall thoughts for me, I say this in like the little mini review I uploaded, and I'll reiterate it here with just as many caveats. A lot of the Star Wars we are told we're going to get in recent years has not quite been the Star Wars we end up getting.
Yeah, intentionally. Yeah,
intentionally, and that's not a bad thing. A lot of the time, like you see so often, like such and such did a bait and switch. That's not what I'm getting at. But like in the way that when we all saw The Mandalorian be announced, and we got those little sneak peeks, and we got those trailers, and we got whatever, we all went, "Oh, cool, gunslinger bounty hunter show." And then it ends up being this show about family and all, and then it is something so much bigger than just guy in cool suit of armor goes black with his gun. It's so much more complicated than that. Book of Boba Fett, we're all like, oh, cool, space Godfather, and it's a show about redefining oneself and processing trauma and learned behavior. Like it's so much more complicated than that. The Bad Batch we thought was going to be a Clone Wars style like war serial, and it's kind of the adventure of the week thing we thought The Mandalorian was going to be. All things considered, a little bit more sanitized because
even that, like, it's like the Rambo meets Ninja Turtles of the Clone Army becomes like, oh, we have to foster this little girl who's never even been to hyperspace before, and like, what's up with her? Like, it ends up being such like a sensitive thing. Yeah.
So like, again, this is not a bad thing. However, there is a little bit of like, I don't know if you could call it like viewer sticker shock. Once you're in the bowels of the show and you're like, well, this is like when you're watching The Mandalorian, especially season 2, and Ahsoka Tano is telling you have to go to Tython so you can maybe find another Jedi for this little Force sensitive baby Yoda. And then you remember, oh yeah, I thought this show was going to be about a bounty hunter doing bounty hunter shit. You kind of have that whoa moment of like, look how far we've come from what I thought this was.
Right.
Andor said, we are a political thriller.
Yeah. From the get, spy thriller, political thriller.
Yeah,
that's been the whole thing.
We're a spy thriller, we're a political thriller. And it has been that. And again, it's not a bad or good thing. It just is.
Yeah. And if anything, it has doubled and tripled down on all aspects of that. Like every time that you're like, oh, that's a harder stance than I thought that they would take, either by a visual cue, such as as Marva calls them, pre-war bastards. They wear all blue. They are straight up boys in blue, jackbooted dudes, the hats and everything.
I will say, I'm interrupting you for a moment.
No,
Gilroy, why'd you have to use my show's colors? Like, come on, man.
He really did do that. He really said ACAB, comma, and TNAP too. It was all Nerd Academy professors are bastards. But so like you have that, and then it's like, oh, I didn't think they go that hard. And then the dark features thing, I didn't think they go that hard. And then Tim sells them out and eats it. I didn't think they go that hard. And that keeps happening in hard ways, even like dialogue based ways. Like we'll talk here about Mothma's, husband. Like it's all the like, oh, they're fun and this, are you taking it too seriously? He's that guy. Why are you taking everything so seriously?
Why is that? Where was that dude on January 6th?
Dude, he literally is a Star Wars fan that is like, it's not political, so trying to make it political. When she's walking away and he's like, why does everything have to be so dull and sad? Like, it's like, that is such a pointed. The only way it could be more pointed is if it was She-Hulk. Like, that's how
a fourth wall breaking. Like the point is self-parody. Well, Connor, and I just want to, before I lose this thought as well, I want to hop on what you just said. Where was he on January 6th? Where he was watching the coverage and then saying this is bad, but also Black Lives Matter protests. That's where he was.
Oh, he's 100% that
because
guy.
He's not every
a both sides guy.
Because he is a both sides guy. He is absolutely somebody who
he's unity politics.
Unity politics. He is the definition of the evil of apathy. And the way that evil thrives on the apathy of the privileged and the moneyed class. That is what he's there to demonstrate. Mon Mothma is the quintessential, I'm going to try to change the system from within the system. Motherfucker, that doesn't work.
Yeah. And he thinks in his mind, like,
as this is.
He believes that it is being helpful because of his deluded sort of like, both sides are the same. Like when he's like, well, maybe tomorrow they'll think differently about like what you're trying to do. And it's like, that doesn't work. What Mothma's doing works to a point. This point of Mothma's career is less effective than the next phase of her career, which is when she says, fuck off after the whole situation in Rebels and is actually on the run. Like that'll be the Mon Mothma who also has the Dodanas and everybody who's organizing a pushback. This is, Mothma more in the Bail camp, which is not a shot at Bail. I mean, the dude was also protecting, a magical child. Like that's a unique situation for him. But we
saw it in Kenobi, so
exactly, yeah. Like he's got Bail's got gumption and heart, but he cannot go as hard as Mothma. Certainly not as hard as Luthen, who is the foot in the Mothma world and a foot in Saw's world. He is both. Whereas you could argue that Saw is more like Jason Todd, or Saw is sort of like Dark Knight Returns. Like, this is the weapon of the enemy. Like, we don't do that. We don't do that.
Yeah, and you get into like a lot of like complicated real life, conversations about, diversity of method. Like the same way you have people who talk all the time about like electoral politics isn't enough. You need community, you need community solidarity in all of its forms. Like, this show has such a real grasp on what dealing with the Empire would be, and I love that. And I love like with Luthen, like I just became so immediately engaged with Luthen. Vel is the name of his contact,
Vel.
right?
Yeah, Vel.
Where he's like, okay, listen, here's my guy. You're going to say this guy was a part of the team. No, fuck you. This is a bad idea. No, this is your guy. And the way that Vel immediately falls in the line, like there was an immediate moment.
Like, she's reluctant, but she's like, all right.
Yeah. And he still gives her agency. She's like, well, what if he's the issue? And he's like, well, he's expendable. Like, this is a Cassian test, but it's also a test of Vel's leadership, because some people inspire and make connections with a lighter touch. Somebody like Bail, obviously Leia was kidnapped, but Bail and Mothma are inspirational. Let me raise you up through good works and good words. But
it's like
Luthen,
Hera too, almost.
Hera too, yeah. But Luthen is I need leaders, even if I need to break leaders in like you break a horse. Like, I need people. And I can see the potential in you, even if you can't see the potential in you. I know it's there, and it's going to come hell or high water, and you have to trust me, because it's also mutually assured destruction. Like, Luthen is also like, that's why it's the whole idea of the minute he's gone, and Vel's like, we never talk about him again. Like, that's not from this point on. Forget him. It's me and you. That they have a relationship that knows that, like, if anyone talks, it's over for everyone, from Vel all the way up to Mon Mothma. It's over. And so Ben Luthen knows that he has that security, and he is going to be the hard-ass coach. He's going to be, the boxing coach that, like, won't let you leave the gym until you get the fucked up. Like, he's that guy.
Yeah, and I also, this is something that I love about Rogue One that I think is prevalent here. Is and again, this is where you start to have that weird conversation about dark and gritty and all of that, whatever. I did a jerk off motion for the audio listeners. You fall into like that weird pitfall where there's a cynicism at play here. And it's fascinating to grapple with, because Rogue One is about the sheer power of number, the sheer power of choosing to rise up. We are not dealing with the Lukes and the Hans and the Leias who have a story that is inspiring because they beat the odds. You have the story about the people who had to die to even the odds enough for them to defy the odds, if that makes sense. And seeing more of those people who, because it's so early into the rebellion's formative years, and are little people who have to lie to each other to even pull off a mission. Like, I don't know that these are people's names that'll be remembered in the annals of history. within that galaxy. You know, these people's names aren't going to be in a textbook. This heist that happens is not going to be remembered and discussed in the future the way that the Battle of Yavin will be, or, you know, even Scarif. You know, like, sure, Scarif will be historic, but like, how did we get there? There's so many people who had to give it all.
Yeah.
And don't get to be symbols like a Luke Skywalker, like a Leia Organa, like a Han Solo.
Yeah, and that's part of myth, right? Like, not to cut you off, but like, just there are the people that do, and there are the people that facilitate the doing, and they're both extremely important. Like, you have, you know, Aragorn, but you also have Faramir, and you also have Éomer, and you also have all those people that were like absolutely essential. And that's, I mean, that's the legend of Samwise, right? He is the facilitator. He's not the ring bearer. He's a ring bearer. He's not the ring bearer, capital T. But the whole moment of I can't carry it, but I can carry you is that. It's that idea personified. It's in everything. It's what's a movie I love? It's Timon and Pumbaa being able to charge in, like, do a distraction. Like, that needs to put your life on the line. That way he can do what he needs to do, is extremely important. And sometimes that role becomes a part of the mythology. You can be both. That's what Han Solo is.
Yeah.
Like, he steps up from being every single time until he's a married and bona fide part of the Skywalker family. But yeah, like, that's something that, like, even with my problems with Rogue One, I've always appreciated that it was, I like how stitched it is to New Hope. I think people misunderstand that. Like, sometimes they claim it's not, and that's always weird. Like, it was the one that was about boots on the ground, and that's why I like it. I'm like, okay, it also ends with like Vader and Leia. Like, let's relax. Like, it's not entirely, it's still essential. It's way more essential than they pitch standalones to be. But yeah, this is the expansion of that idea, where, like, you can make an argument that, well, Radis, someone clarify this for me. Does Radis get executed after Scarif? Because they get boarded, right? He dies, I think. I think they've said that in, like, reference material. Maybe someone in the comments can clarify.
I'm not sure. I always thought Radis' ship was one of the ones that gets fucking shoulder checked by the Avenger.
That's one of the greatest entrances of anything ever. It's very, very funny. No, Radis's ship is holding the Tanavi. So okay. I always assumed that Vader
that's
went
some rough
upstairs.
Editing then, because I could never tell that that's Radis's ship.
Yeah, I've always assumed that, because like the Radis ferried the Profundity to Scarif, and then 30 plus years later, Leia names hers the Radis.
There's really reason. So I looked on Wikipedia, just a quick update. There's really nothing like specific. It just says like Radis perished as the Profundity was destroyed.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna assume that after the
like it could be easily retconned.
Yeah, well, I only bring him up to say like Radis, Mon Mothma, General Draven. Like, I'm assuming that they will keep the memory of specifically the Rogue One crew, Jyn and company, alive, and I think they do. I think that the recent comics between, because there was the Ashes of Jedha arc, which I think brings them up, and then there was I know that Luke and Leia have at least had like one talk about the Rogue One crew. That said, Andor expands it even further into your point, Jared, because I can tell you this: Cassian Andor, Chirrut, Bodhi, they might have a chapter in the history book. Vel, Luthen Rael's assistant, who's great, those types of people, no, that's even more removed. Like, that's like, those are the people that truly will never get their flowers for what they did, but they're so important. Being able to lie under the threat of death every day, and to put it in that context of Luthen again, like, as this connector, Bix and Luthen both so far, like, connecting the grit to the high society and vice versa. Like, you think about something like Luthen's assistant. Oh, I should pull up her name because it's a great character. But she is so interesting to me because she's one of those characters that they throw into Star Wars that they've been doing this since New Hope. Like, what's their story? How did she get that job? What did Luthen test her with to know that she was trustworthy enough to know what was going on? That's not a normal reception job. Like, is she a spy too? Like, it's that type of stuff. that's really exciting for me. Her name is Clea Markey, by the way, played by
Such a great Star Wars name.
Clea Markey. Yeah, it's fantastic. Elizabeth Dual. Can I go on a little tangent about the Star Wars names real quick?
Go for it.
I just want to rattle some of these off for everyone to just appreciate. Cassian Andor we already had, but his real name is Casa, so like that's great too. Cyril Karn, Bix Colleen or Kayleen, Brasso, Tim Carlo, Chief Hine, Luthen Rail, Marva Andor, Linus Mosk, Clem Andor, Mothma we already had, Deidre Miro, Vel Sartha, Sintakaz, Clea Markey, Edie Karn, Piran Firtha, that's Mothma's husband. So you have Mothma and Firtha, which I think there was something that was said recently. Connor, we talked about it actually off air. Like someone recently said that Mothma was married at like 15 or 16 years old. And like Chandrila, like it sounds like the names being similar, kind of like Stark and Karstark in Game of Thrones, makes me think that it might have been like, because she doesn't seem, that's not the kind of guy, that she'd go for. So that we'll talk about that when we get to that scene. But
before we get into something about how that kind of power and position fucks you up in the head, maybe
that's true. Yeah, that maybe he was like pre-Clone Wars, he could have been a decent guy, and then he was like, "This is kind of nice." Like as their stock,
like a hippie turned yuppie. Yeah,
100%, exactly that. Major Partagaz, Karis Nemec, Lieutenant Gorn, Arvel Skeen, and then Taraman Barsona. That's fantastic. That is an unparalleled streak of Star Wars names just being phenomenal. Like those are all 10s.
I am gonna be a bitch here for a second and say, I'm only gonna pick this fight because as I said to you guys off air, I just finished listening to the Death Troopers audiobook. When did you people start pronouncing Chandrila that way?
I've always said Chandrila up until this, where I think that Genevieve gave it more of a sh sound. Chandrila. I thought she did in the episode when she enters the gallery. So I just started aping that.
The narration for Death Troopers says Chandrila. Like it almost sounds like they're saying Shrinkrila. Like, and I hate it. I hate it. Every time it came up, I was like, I would rather get eaten by a zombie stormtrooper.
But here's the thing, though. I'm in a super uppity, flowery mood because of Rings of Power. Like, it's not Galadriel, which is what I've said my whole life. It's Galadriel. Mordor. It's Galadriel, Mordor.
So much sauce.
It's not
much.
Literally,
sauce.
like things that I've read, like the word Valinor, which is never said in Jackson's. They just call it. I don't think Valinor is said in Jackson. Someone can correct me. I'm pretty sure they just refer to it as the West or the Undying Lands. But in the show, they call it Valinor. Its true name, and it's Valinor, and it's like in the Tolkien language. Hot. Certain R's are written as rolled. It's a different character for a rolled R than it is for an R. So once I heard Genevieve put a little bit of a into it, I was like, oh, hell yeah. I'm latching onto that.
Like I said, I've always had that very hard, like Chandrila is how I've always said it. And then listening to
Chandrila
is Chandrila. And I'm
my favorite. My favorite alternate, though, of all of them, like, yeah, there's Han, Leia. There's a bunch of those in Star Wars for different words. My favorite is one that doesn't make the movie. That's only in the beginning, and it's Jake Lloyd saying Coruscant. I've always thought Coruscant was adorable. Yes. I wish they would have left that in. It's a great kid mispronouncing something.
I love that. It made me happy watching the beginning when I was a kid because I was like, hey, I remember my Nana trying to read me a fucking Star Wars book and she couldn't pronounce like half of the words in the planets because normal adult.
Yeah. And that's also like a thing is that as his powers grew and as Star Wars became more of a phenomenon, he flexed and flexed and flexed more. Like Hoth. You cannot mispronounce that unless you say Hoth. But then like I don't understand that either. Like Endor, very easy. But then the prequels, it's Geonosis, Camino, Coruscant. Like it all just it starts to Utapau, Mustafar, like all those words, like they got more and more fantasy and sci-fi as it went, which I appreciate.
I love it. I also love the modern era. I will say there is a run of planets, and I can't remember
I think that's why I like the prequel names more, Alden. I think you hit the nail on the head. You finally unlocked that layer for me.
They're
It's just
flowery.
because they're more flowery and more fantasy.
As Jared said, the sauce. Like somebody, there was one of those like really bad faith, trying to be incorrect articles that went around Book of Boba Fett talking about how why are we doing everything on Tatooine? And it's like that's so blatantly untrue. So I broke it down by project, and this is an incomplete list, but I was like 5 new ones in TFA: Jakku, Takodana, Dakar, Hosnian Prime, Octo, 2 in Last Jedi, Kentonica and Crate, 5 in Tross. I'm not gonna keep naming all of them. Rogue One has Lamu, Ring of Kefrine, Wapani. Solo has Vandor, Kessel, Savarine, Numidium Prime. Rebels has Lothal, Malachor, Adelon, Cronest. And I did Bad Batch, Fallen Order, Resistance, all these things. You can do all that, and some motherfucker with a blog will still say all your stories are on Tatooine.
We have a Tatooine problem.
The Tatooine problem. That's just not true.
Yeah.
It's not their fault that Jabba's palace was already there. So if they had to tell the story there.
Stuff like the Tatooine problem article is one of those
Yeah.
things where it's like,
it's not
like
the
if you
it's not
if
the
you
fault
if you
of the
rubbed
media.
if you rubbed a couple brain cells together a little harder,
Yeah.
there might have
For a
been something
second.
meaningful in here.
For
There
a
might have been
second.
a meaningful like moving away from your comfort zone Star Wars fandom. Like there could have been something in there, but it's a Tatooine problem. Word vomit. Like
It's like what, because Rey was there for 2 seconds? Sorry, she went where like the actual matriarch of the family's fucking buried. Like, God forbid. But anyway,
Yeah.
we don't need to litigate Tross here. But
No, we don't.
Well, speaking
review
of
for 4 hours.
speaking of fun, a little annoying points. I do want to circle back to Easter egg gate.
No, please.
Because I think this is.
But again, no Easter eggs.
No.
I think this is deeply fucking funny. Like
it's funny.
like I first of all. I mean no disrespect to.
It's that Woody meme. I'm not a hater, but don't worry, I am.
Yeah. The Alden Diaz meme.
That Alden Diaz meme.
The sip
Get
does
it right.
it for me.
Get it right.
The sip does it for me, Alden.
Sensational.
I'm so happy to have earned that. Okay,
yes,
continue.
Yes.
It's very funny to you that.
I also love that that video cuts off half my face, and it's actually it cuts off the eye I can't see out of, so I'm truly the one-eyed knight.
It's like whenever an artist is like, "Oh, let me get clever with a Harvey Dent image."
Let me get clever. No, I don't think people know how to watch things.
You don't say.
And
like I have one eye and I can watch this shit.
To quote to quote Mr. Jordan Holmes of Knowledge Fight, words mean things. And
I don't know why I find that so funny.
I'm befuddled. I've been thinking about this since, and again, not to give more attention to the people who were just who will wither and die without attention.
Yeah.
But like the whole Grace Randolph, like there's no Easter eggs in this, therefore it's not good and not like meant for, week to week discussion.
Or like I said earlier, it's not reminding me that it's Star Wars, therefore it's better. Both horrid reactions to the same lack.
Well, I don't understand either. Like I have less issue with the it's not reminding me it's Star Wars, because I just put that in the same box as like you know, it's a Batman movie, but it doesn't remind you how silly Batman is. And
Yeah.
it's just like same immediate, I don't take your opinion seriously moment.
Sure.
I have
sure.
I have that same reaction of like even the dark and gritty and serious and realistic Batman movies are insane.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight, the entire third act of The Dark Knight is like reading a comic on an acid trip. It moves at a pace that I think a lot of comic writers would get admonished for. And that's neither here nor there. But like your dark and serious and realistic and gritty plot just goes ape shit by the end.
Plug for the TNAP Batman analyses that we all did.
Yes. Again, another episode that I was very proud of. But so I'm going to put that to the side here. And again, there was that infamous, Grace Randolph talking about Rogue One had so many Easter eggs, like Darth Vader, the Death Star in Princess Leia, and which and you see memes about that. Like before she said that, there was always the Darth Vader is in this scene in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that is a callback to Darth Vader being the main fucking antagonist of these movies.
Yeah, those are funny.
And those are funny because it's like the over explanation of like a water is wet type.
And the irony about Rogue One in particular, Rogue One and Andor being the center of this conversation is always fun for me because I hate the way that the word cameo has been gutted and dragged through the streets like it's the French Revolution. Like I guess it would have been more of a guillotine situation, although I'm sure someone was dragged. That was not there.
The word cameo has been effectively Muammar Gaddafi.
That is 100% as a verb, yes. Because like go tell an actor who just booked their first recurring role. Like we're buds with Mike Kalinowski, or like he's a Schmodown guy. That guy's an actor. Like he's had recurring roles on shows on like CW, ABC, things like that. Go tell him those are cameos. That's an insult.
Yeah.
You want to know what a cameo is? Rogue One has the most of them. Ponda Baba and Evazan, Hera being audibly called out, Chopper rolling through screen, C-3PO and R2-D2. Those are cameos, and that's the one that they worship. Whereas like Bad Batch and Mando season 2 get crucified. Like Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, Cobb Vanth. Those ain't cameos, dude.
The story, Alden.
Yeah, those are guest starring roles. Quality, we can talk about. We can talk about story. We can talk about quality.
We can talk about the execution of them all day long.
But that's not a cameo.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, and you're right. You're absolutely right. You can talk about like we talked about this a lot with our Bad Batch coverage and our Mando season 2 coverage. That like it kind of feels like a revolving door after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Bad Batch, where like I know a lot of people, myself included, had a hard time really connecting with the Batch a lot of the time, and that was not helped by the fact that every time it was like, okay, here's
Rex,
like a big story for them.
Yeah,
exactly. Here's a big moment for them. Oh fuck, Rex is here. Like every time, it's like, oh shit, oh my god,
someone else from Clone Wars is here. So
and that's true. And all that to say, not to sidetrack us into that, but to feed it back into your point, is that the more we butcher language and the more we butcher terms, and like fan service means nothing, and we've had that conversation too, then you enable people to then call something like Vader or the Death Star an Easter egg, which sounds stupid to us, but there's that person is making money off of those videos, and I know I'm not. Like, what was
slinging Bloody Mary mix?
What was the you don't have to answer this on air, obviously I'm being facetious, but like, what was the TNAP check last week? Probably the same as the Octa Radio check, and so evidently the language has been butchered to that point. Basically what we're doing here is eulogizing the language, because that fight's over.
And it's the example I always give, where like Daredevil and Spider-Man No Way Home, that's a fucking cameo.
That's a cameo.
That is a walk-on, like it is a cameo that gets like called attention to.
Yeah, he's a cameo at like in terms of acting, and then in terms of functionality, he's a plot device. He's there to hand wave away the legal element.
Exactly.
Of what happened.
Exactly.
It's a good plot device.
Yeah,
but that's what he is.
Yeah, and he's in the same family of cameo as R2 and 3PO in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
like, hey guys, look. You
Yeah.
know, like all that's missing is kind of like a you know, like sitcom, like
Because
when they
once
show
you
up.
realize where once you get to the end of Rogue One and it's the hope, like, you know, I don't know, as they said at the end of Rogue One, hope. I can't with myself sometimes. The that, like, once
As
you
Leia
get to
says at the
that,
end of Rogue One, hope.
once you get to that and you realize that, oh, we're in New Hope now, that's when you're like, okay, 3PO and R2, I am kind of happy that I knew where they were during, were they present at Scarif? Like, those are the kinds of things I could see fans asking, in the same way that somebody theoretically could have asked, what was Matt Murdock doing during these periods in New York when everyone was hunting Spider-Man? Did he try to hunt Spider-Man? Did he know Spider-Man? So it's those types of questions that those types of little functional walk-ons can work in.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, all that to say, Easter egg city in this episode, as you
And
were.
those are Easter egg. And again, like I don't like Easter egg and fan service don't need to be like discourse slurs.
Mm-mm.
They
No.
can be. They very much can be. And again, much like the old adage about adult filmmaking, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
You know, what happens in Luthen's office, his little curio shop of antiquities, whatever, like none of that affects the plot, except for what he gives Mon Mothma. And friend of the show, someone Alden recently hung out with, Mr. Darth Chaco.
Yeah.
He is one of those moments. I hate how quick on the trigger some of you people are. Y'all beat me to the smartest sounding shit every time. And he was able to put into words something I couldn't quite figure out how to say, with the whole like sun goddess and the serpent.
Mm.
He went in a slightly different direction than I did, but I want to get into that when we're done talking about like all the things. But
Yeah.
like, I don't understand how somebody like Grace Randolph, who, and I'm only calling attention to her because she had the big, you know, the Death Star is an Easter egg moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the only time the Death Star has been an Easter egg is in Attack of the Clones.
That's true. Arguably Sith too, but more Sith ones.
But how she got to see episode 4. You went to the premiere, you didn't.
No, I had 4, but they didn't screen it.
Yeah, but well, it's not like the people at the premiere didn't get to see it.
Yeah,
Only
yeah.
People with like press screeners got to see episode 4. How did you get through that episode and say there's no Easter eggs in this? Like,
she's dumb.
Because there's well, that's true, but there's a level to it. Like, it's like there are some where it's like, sure, you know, if she has not played Force Unleashed and done the dark side ending and all that, then you could miss that. But like the blatant Din Djarin-esque breastplate and shoulder pads and everything of the Mando armor that are sitting the most in view outside of the that
and the
monk
cudgel, like
the
come on,
big ass Gungan ray shield that's sitting in the corner. Like there's
father,
one
son,
for
and daughter
every
stuff.
level.
Yeah, there's some for every level, but like, and again, and you know, and I don't mean this in a gatekeepy way of like, well, why haven't you played all these games that are getting referenced, you know, left, right, and center? But like in this episode alone, there was a name drop of the Rakatan goddamn Empire.
Dude, I lost it, man. I was like, I could not believe what I just heard.
I couldn't either. I texted you guys, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I texted you at like, you were probably asleep, but I texted you at like 4:30 that morning. Like, Jared, there's a scene where Starkiller's mask is literally in frame so often. He's like, that Easter egg has the most shine of any Easter egg probably ever.
Yeah.
It's constantly in frame.
Yeah. Yeah. Even in like shots where like it's not deliberately like a bunch of red arrows pointing at Galen's Sith armor, like it's still just right there.
And like I said to my buddy Reed, co-host of the One of Them Film Club, a podcast that I'm on, he said oh man, the Ricotta Empire thing, like that's crazy. Like, can't believe we're at this point now where that's just casually said. I said, dude, imagine going back to yourself in 2006. You know, your little ass just watched Dead Man's Chest, and you're telling you like one day there's going to be Star Wars on TV because that's pre Clone Wars even. So like,
Yeah.
there's not even, you can't even do the animation live action any Star Wars on TV that isn't the micro series. And Bootstrap Bill Turner is going to be dropping KOTOR references on TV. Like, that's just like, what is happening? It's crazy.
Exactly. And like, again, like there's a whole thing where like Cassian uses Dash Rendar's gun. You know, he has the same blaster that Dash Rendar has.
It's Clem's blaster now.
I think it's modified.
Yeah, same.
By the way, I love the way that thing cocks. The little turn that it does.
Oh yeah, that's
good. Yeah.
You have the Shadows of the Empire gun. You have your blaster. You have the Ricotta Empire name drop. You have everything in like the little curio den. You have and again, that's like you said, it's from every level. Everything from the Lord Starkiller armor up to and including stuff that is canon, like the father and the son of the Mortis God stuff.
Yeah.
The shield, the Mando armor.
There's Indiana Jones, as Alex Damon pointed out.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that video, but I saw somebody tweet about like Indy's whip frozen in carbonite.
So like he has like those square carbonite slabs instead of rectangles like Han is in. They're squares, and one of them is like when Indy's whip is like not folded up, but like when it's holstered up in a circle.
Yeah.
They're in the carbonite, like so blatantly that it cracks me up. And like that's the kind of shit where it's like if you see that and it's cynical to you, like I bet some fucking smarmy ass like loser was probably like reminding me that Indy 5 is coming, corporate synergy, and it's like, would you just relax? Jeez.
Even beyond that, like I don't get it. I don't get how somebody could watch any of this so far. And again, like even using like the asinine definition of Easter egg,
still doesn't apply.
Yeah. The first 3 episodes have like the scientists with like the Confederacy of Independent Systems symbol on their flight suits.
Like I said, dude, Luthen's on the bus. He's taking the bus downtown, and there's
clone troopers in the trailer. I'm sorry.
There's 2 Aki sitting behind him, looking like they're like no festival for another 20-some years. So we're gonna, because as we know, that festival only happens every 42 years
because they're illiterate.
It's media illiteracy.
Because anger drives revenue. And guess what? I said it once. I'm going to say it again.
Here it comes.
I have one functioning eye.
Yep.
And I have more media literacy than these people.
Yep. It's true. It's ridiculous, dude. It's bad.
I have zero patience for it. I do want to talk about Luthen. And I'm going to give you the floor because you had... Thalbor Sheems, Esquire. I'm just so used to that being what your thing is anymore. I'm gonna give you the floor because I loved your Bruce Wayne comparison, and I want you to know this. I was waiting to tell you this on air. When I saw you tweet those like side by sides of Luthen and Bale's Batman, I audibly groaned. Like, I'm like, and when I say that, I went, oh, like,
no, yeah, I get you.
Like, that was the noise I made when I looked at it. So I'm going to give you the floor because you're just going to say everything that I want to say.
Sure.
And that's one of the fun things about having you on
is
I can bitch about nonsense and you can say all the important things.
Love that. I like being that guy. So credit to Nikki Kumar, my co-host of the Imperial Senate podcast and my co-host on Rewatch, and just like one of my general like life partners. Love that guy. He had said pre the show, maybe like in the days after the premiere, but before it actually hit, something. He's like, do you think that Luthen is Bruce Wayning this shit? And I was like, I really do, man. Like, there was speculation, like, is the long hair signifying a time jump? Are we looking at past? Are we looking at future? What's going on? And I'm like, I do think it's all at once, in the same way that Bruce is, the only person, arguably, depending on the take, that sees Bruce Wayne the man is Alfred Pennyworth. That's pretty much it. even his kids, he keeps at varying arms distances. Like, it's very, very rare that you get Bruce Wayne. Public Bruce Wayne's a creation. Batman is, again, depending on the writer, either the thing he taps into or the real him. And then it matches Malone, like all of the things that Bruce can be for situations. What, you think that's funny? Matches Malone is serious.
I just can't believe we got a Matches Malone name drop on the fucking Star Wars podcast.
It's like, it's crazy times, man. Like, it really is a strange world that we live in.
Google that. Anybody doesn't know what that is. That is, I love comics. That's what
I love comics too. I love comics too, man. And so we got to that conversation, and then when this episode started, and he's doing other stuff with now Cassian as Clem, and then Vel. Then when he's alone and he taps in, it's not I tap in and I'm so good at this, and he is, but it's not an effortless like got this. It's not James Bond. He's burdened by this. The oh my god, like cleansing with the wet towel, the warmth, like fuck, like I have to do this again. Like I have to transform. That's why he has to take a moment to rehearse. He's not a super spy. This is what Matt Reeves sort of described the Batman as way back. What Matt Reeves described the Batman as before the movie was the 2022 movie, when he was like, the first trailer came out and he said, this is a criminological experiment that Bruce is inflicting upon Gotham.
Yeah.
Luthen Rail is inflicting his disgust at what's happened.
His pockets are fomenting.
The pockets fomenting, dude.
Ugh.
Pockets. Who's also in the Batman. As
Oh my
Alex
God.
Ferns, as the cop guy, the chief of police, assistant chief of police. But he has this mentality of he comes from
Wait,
wealth.
I'm interrupting you for 1 second.
No,
I just realized not only does he get to be the first person to say shit in Star Wars, he also gets the one F-bomb in the Batman.
Oh, you're right.
This guy's having a great year for swearing.
That's right. He has two of those moments I didn't expect. That's
Yeah,
right.
'Cause
I
whenever
remember
they're
being
at the
taken
mayor's
aback by
office,
that. I was like,
whenever happy fucking Halloween, the Batman.
yeah. I'm not sure if that's where I would have placed it, but that's a conversation for another time. I always have fun with that. Like when people are like, if you get one F-bomb, where would you put it in each Star Wars movie? Normally, I think that there is like a natural place. I'm not sure if it's Happy fucking Halloween for that movie, but
I know in Revenge of the Sith, my joke pick for the fuck bomb is Palpatine going get, because I don't know why they cut to him doing that.
it's
And
weird.
I think it would be even funnier for him to go quack. Wait, and you could even make it a more coherent line of dialogue where he's like, "Fucking get him!" Like you could do something with that, but
something.
him just kind of like "fuck" would be funny. However, the logical place.
I love when he just goes, get. I don't know why. That's just one of my favorites.
It's ridiculous. Ian is ridiculous in that movie.
The actual place you put the fuck bomb is when Anakin just punches Obi-Wan in the face.
Yeah.
Because like
right when he gets hit.
because he just sucker punches him with the metal hand. He just sucker punches Obi-Wan and he staggers back, and then you get that iconic shot where they're like grabbing each other's wrists with like the giant eruption behind them.
So
and
good.
And they have that loud Star Wars when he gets hit. So it's fuck as he's like drawing back.
So good. Oh, I know where Revenge is hard for me to place. I think it might be something like my little green fuck. Like it's like something like that, something petty. The easiest one is Force Awakens, and it has to go to Carrie, which it always should if you can. And that one is when has that ever helped? And don't say the fucking Death Star. That's where that goes. 100%.
Well, if she said it in that context, she could then get a second fuck word.
That's true. Is that PG-13 rule?
PG-13. PG-13. You lose it if it's in a sexual context. So you.
I thought it was just because it's the first Death Star, and so she could make another one with the second.
Clever. Anyway, as you were saying,
there's always a way to blow one of these fucks up. But yeah, so like the whole idea of Luthen, we don't have his origin, so this could always be changed. I could see two reads. One is that Luthen Rail is a creation for these times because we're on year 14 of the reign of the Empire at this point. Maybe this was something that he did or crafted, whatever. I don't think so. I really do think that he, at one time, that was his life.
I agree.
I think that he has this. I
100%.
think he's old money. I think he's old money, and that he was one of the people like Padme that when it all went down was probably like, fuck this. Like, I think that he had the inverse of Mothma's husband, where that radicalized him. And he was like, I'm not a young man anymore.
He's kind of like Tala.
Yes. Yeah. And maybe Luthen was for a little bit like, cool, I'll sell my artifacts to these guys. And then it was like, something ain't right. And I think that it started to eat at him. And or maybe it is more Bruce than I even think. And maybe he was a young fighter at one time. And then was Soldier of Fortune, became Luthen Rail. This guy, all this stuff. And now he's, but in any case, like rage, righteous rage, and wanting to take it out and get down into the mud and play both and live this dangerous life. Like he's so angry. And the predominant side of his life now is a farce. And like you could look at him in simplistic terms and say, oh, he's Luthen Rail, the owner of antiquities from high society that masquerades as a rebellion leader. And maybe it was like that in the first few years. It has now swapped in the same way that Batman was something that Bruce created to inflict justice upon things, until all of a sudden Batman was the man. And it's, I think Luthen, I would love a novel about that change or a comic about that change or something, or maybe get Alexander Skarsgård and just straight up fucking do it. Like, just be your dad.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That'd be fucking awesome.
They're already doing it with the Neesons.
I know, exactly. Just do it. But somewhere along the way, Luthen Rail became that guy. When he struts through Ferrix and he's got his retractable cane that he doesn't even really need, it seems, but it's just for style. That's the guy. When he's got Cassian shoving his gun in his face, he's got a blaster to the forehead, and he's like unflinching. It's much harder for him to be the other guy now. And that's Bruce Wayne. Like Bruce having to entertain at Wayne Manor. That's why I chose that scene from Begins, because you could see like the effort that it takes for him to be that. And then when the threat finally comes, he immediately switches into, I got to get all these people out of here. I got to do this. Like that's when he's alive again. And it sucks that it has to be that way, but you need a character like that to connect your Mon Mothma, who in this situation is Gordon, in that way, like I'm in and everyone else is corrupt. And then you move over here and Saw, like we said, is anyone that goes beyond the pale of what Bruce deems is acceptable. Because Luthen, it's been said a couple times, and even I might have even said this, and maybe it was just on my rewatches that I reevaluated. When I saw it at the premiere, I was like, oh, Luthen would have killed Cyril Karn. I think he's saying that to scare Cyril Karn. I don't think he would have capped Cyril Karn in the back of the head like he says, like, kill him. I'll kill him. I don't think he's that guy, because then Saw is not further. Then they're the same.
Yeah.
You need to be a step away from him. That way, when they have that scene, my favorite part in the trailer, let's call it war. Like that needs to be even too much for Luthen, because Luthen is choosing a network of secrecy. So I was like, secrecy? Fuck you.
That.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm
secrecy.
Really excited to see what
this car bomb is a secret.
Yeah. It's a secret how many I planted in here. I'll give you a guess.
No, but like back to that point of just
gumball jars, just a thing of thermal detonators. Like, tell me how many explosives are in this bucket.
100%.
Yeah, and you'll get them for free. No, but that's one of the things that from when the trailer dropped, that was just one of the things I've been really excited for, and just this discussion has sort of reignited that excitement about like the conversations that Luthen and Saw are going to have, and like what is Luthen's path going to be once he interacts with Saw? Is he going to go down the path of Guerrera, or is he going to try and like still be who he is and not be like, all right, this is a little too much. I wouldn't be shocked. I think, Jared, you've said it, but like, I wouldn't be shocked if like whatever Luthen does in the context of Saw, like, makes the rebellion have the rift that it does with Saw by the time of Rogue One.
It might be Luthen that says like he's got to go. Like, and that's some people's theory is Mothma. Do you want to breach that topic? What is the Mothma situation?
Go for it.
What's going on? Yeah, because I know that could be a conversation in of itself. So I didn't want to start that unless you were ready.
Yeah,
but,
no, we can.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Mothma wants to bring someone else into the inner circle. Now there are levels to this. The first level is the Tony Gilroy level, which is the safest bet. It's probably going to be an original character. I would be and then at most a character that he worked with on Rogue One. So my safe bet instincts. Let's address the Organa thing first. I don't think it's Bail Organa because he would already be inner circle.
Yeah,
like the delegation of 2000.
Was it 2000? I thought it was. Oh yeah, it's delegation of 2000.
2000. Okay. I mean, at least in Revenge. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it had the canonicity of the deleted scenes is always a thing, but I think 2000 still stands.
No, I just forgot the number.
Yeah. So it's like at this point, like we know this is 5 BBY 5, and then you move over to we talked about this last night off air. So it's 5 years out. Next year, at this point, next year, Leia is going to be working with the Ghost crew and getting the the Hammerhead Corvettes and everything. So Leia's already in, or is about to be Princess of Alderaan. She is also next year canonically. So her parents are already working in there.
Wait, I thought Princess of Alderaan was 3 BBY.
Princess of Alderaan is at the same time because she's
I gotta check.
15. I thought she was 15 in it. If she's 16, then you're right. But either way.
That's why Connor writes the questions.
Yeah, that's why it's come.
It's 3 BBY with the Princess of Alderaan book.
Yeah, well, that even that.
But yeah, still, she's part of the. Like, she's still.
She finds out her parents are actively involved.
Yeah,
like,
and she's getting involved herself.
And you could easily
and then
write
she
this
gets
away.
pilled.
Yep. you could easily write this away by saying they were doing stuff because Bail has had Ahsoka as a fulcrum since a year out, 18 BBY.
Yeah.
So maybe the sort of loophole will be what she means isn't to Luthen's network. You could always do that. But I think that Bail and Brea are in. We're too close already to Rebels and New Hope. But
yeah.
Level 2 to that is the Rogue One thing. So get them out of the way. Is it going to be someone like Antok Merrick, which I would explode, or General Draven? Those things make sense. But then that expands into another conversation. People have thrown out Dodonna. People have thrown out Sato. The thing is like anyone military, though, this is one of Nikki's points that we were talking about off air. Kind of like that's hard because this is more of a clandestine time.
Yeah, I feel like anyone strictly
military eras, like ain't gonna be Radis as cool as fuck as that would be. It's like the whole point of this is secrecy, so it makes me think.
I just don't think it would make sense.
I would get a level of excited if I saw Radis. Like,
dude,
I'm not proud of it. I would go full fucking soups.
I know.
I would. I know the couch I sit upon to watch Andor. I'm touching it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the TV straight ahead. Okay. I would get so excited. I would pick the camera up off the fucking tripod and just throw it at the TV. Like, I would just have that like Philadelphia sports fan kind of reaction.
Dude,
like,
it would be great.
I feel so many big feelings right now. The only way I can express it is through just wanton violence.
I love that.
My heart has grown 3 sizes.
Yeah, so like any of those would be great, but like
I feel like guess was Saw. I don't know why.
But again, Saw's part of the conversation, which is why I brought it up. Like, if Mothma's like, no, I think we can appeal to his better sensibilities and sort of like we can rein him in, he'll fall in line, and then he doesn't. That could be the interesting falling out. So I could easily see that being a thing. Maybe that's why Luthen and Saw meet. Like, hey, my guy's ready, go check him out. But then at the same time, again, that's a very public, very, that's a Clone Wars vet. So I don't know about that.
See, here's what's interesting. And like,
I love the Jar Jar Binks theory, by the way. I know some people are very into that as well.
Oh God. Godspeed to any of you if that happens.
The Jar Jar
God.
Binks theory. Let me tell you right now. Let me cut you off,
Dude,
Jared,
Bob
but,
Cast
like,
would cease to exist.
well, there's that. But like, let me tell you, if
Then our enemy wins.
Jar Jar motherfucking Binks, representative of the Gungan people, part of Padme's posse from Naboo, general, Bombad General, etc., etc., etc. Titles. If that man, as played by Ahmed Best, of course, has a scene with Luthen Rail, that will go down instantly as the greatest conversation, no matter what is said. That will be the greatest conversation of Star Wars history. Jar Jar Binks. Like, it's just like, imagine Stellan Skarsgård's face when this guy walks into a meeting. It would be amazing. Emmy television.
I love that. I love that pitch so much. And I want to say this, and people who watch any of the Teen App stuff know I'm a prediction guy. Like, I'm very much one of those people who love the thrill of trying to figure out what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
To varying degrees of success. I have been wrong before. Those of you who have been around for a while watched the disaster that was my WandaVision predictions.
Oh, I gotta go back and check that out.
Oh, I went down with the Mephisto ship.
Oh, hell yeah.
There came a point where I was like, I can't abandon this theory now. I'm just going to double down until I'm completely wrong. And then I redeemed myself with Loki, and I was on a roll, and I got a lot of shit about Kenobi right. I do not want this to come across as though I don't care about Andor, because like y'all who watch this stuff know, like, I'm a prediction guy. I have no predictions. I don't fucking care. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I don't like, whenever you like, I didn't even realize people were trying to figure out who the new person was going to be. Like, it never occurred to me to be like, ooh, who's it going to be? I went, ooh, that's interesting.
Same.
Can't wait for that.
For me.
My impulse was never to be like, who's it going to be? Is it Saw? Is it this? Nope. I was like, cool. Can't wait to see who it is. I did not at all. That was not my impulse. And I don't know. Like, I don't know what that says about me or the show, but like, that was not my impulse.
No. I mean, I do think there's something to that
game.
I think because it's like completely completely uncharted, but like very new territory we're getting into.
That's true.
That, like,
you're right.
We don't really have that.
New territory.
It's the new sliver of a very explored region. Like, we know
so
much about the birth of the rebellion. Yeah.
That new sliver is in approach. Like, if this was the same story, if it was the same, not even the same scripts is a little too far. If it was the same story, but given to, and this is not an insult, and if you try to do this seriously and like insult Favreau, I'm gonna be fucking pissed at you, whoever you are watching this. If this was Jon Favreau does Andor with the same story points, it would have a pulpy forward momentum. It would move more at a clip, and we would be thinking more like, what's gonna happen, like, because it draws you in that way. The show that stops for like 2 minutes for Cyril Karn to walk home after being shamed, after being responsible for the incorporation of for the rollback of the corporate authority, like all these ideas, like, that's not the show that's like, and now, like, because even the endings aren't that way. Mandalorian endings, Kenobi endings, Book of Boba Fett endings, all the animation endings, they always end rousing because it's the victory, or it ends pulp
with
cliffhanger.
Some hopeful note.
Yeah.
Or even if it's not hopeful, it's like, what's gonna happen to the Jedi? Tune in next time. Like, it's the stuff that George Lucas watched as a kid. It's serial fiction.
Yeah.
This is not. These all end on down notes.
Yeah.
They all end on down notes.
The only thing that I was like, ooh, was like, this is kind of a given, especially like with a little bit of like, and like I said, I avoided a shitload of trailers for Andor. I wanted to go in as cold as possible. Just from like Googling pictures to do like thumbnails, like, I've already been like, oh, okay, we're gonna end up, okay. I've already against my own will kind of seen stuff that, again, was all in the marketing, But like the only moment I had of like, ooh, was that Karn and Imperial Girl Boss Fed are absolutely going to team up because they're both on Coruscant.
Oh,
Yeah.
Karn and Deidre. I didn't even think about that.
Why do you send Karn back? Why do you have Karn's home be on Coruscant? I mean,
Which, by the way, like on a story point, I think I said this maybe in our group chat. I'm not sure. I don't love the character of Cyril Karn because like I have self-respect, but that's a joke for anybody watching, by the way. I know we have to say that. But the whole idea of not only was he everything we knew he was from 1 through 3, and those archetypes and very, very representing the real world right now.
He's a fail son.
He's a fail son, but with that fucking hero complex, it's not even like he's from around there and thinks all these things. You are a city boy that went to play hero. You had to go out there to think that you could boss around like lower, like backwater people, like and then you got sent back. You got sent packing, literally, carrying your fucking bags to mommy's apartment.
It gave me college vibes.
Totally.
Yeah.
I flunked out, Mom. Like it was
This bitch.
yes. It's fantastic. And it was fun. It was just fantastic to see. Like it solidified his character even more. Every scene with him makes me think that we're getting further away from like he's a Star Wars villain, and so he's probably going to be redeemed. I really don't think so for him.
No.
I mean,
I've been on the train
if
of
he
he's not
does,
going
he
to get
does.
redeemed.
Like we got into that in last week's episode where we were talking about him. You know,
and if he does, I won't be mad. I don't care. Like I don't. It's
Yeah.
not about what I want. I don't want.
It's about what the story tells us.
It's what the story needs. Like sometimes redemption comes in a little bit comes in hot. You know, famously, the Battlefront 2 story was supposed to be longer than it actually was for budget reasons. Like levels that were almost complete were cut. Lots of things were cut, and so Aiden's turn feels a little bit unearned. Once it happens, I love it.
I didn't know that.
Great.
I didn't know that.
The Battlefront 2 story. Yeah, I have to ask Ken for like details. Like he's more familiar with like what
I
went
literally
down.
DM'd one of the writers because I was curious, and he like just straight up told me like a bunch of things.
Yeah, that's right,
funny.
Connor. I forgot about that. You also knew about that shit. Yeah, so like Battlefront 2 was supposed to be longer, and that term was supposed to be more earned.
I mean, like probably not as detailed as like you probably know, Alden, but like just general stuff.
Yeah, but then there's things like Callus, which is way more slow burn, where not until him and Zeb are stranded do you get the shades of like, oh, you're a human being. So like maybe it'll be later. Who knows? If it does happen. But I'm at the point now where like this show's going so hard into making statements that like he might just be the complete fail son. Like you might just eat it. Like maybe you get in with these ISB with Deidre or whatever, and then maybe we get to the end of their storyline and Deidre just caps them. Boom! Like
I can see that happening.
I think the most radical thing this show could say is to take someone like Cyril Karn and say, "You see that? See that fascist?
Mm-hmm.
That fascist has a mommy, and he loves his mommy, and his mommy loves him." But he's a fascist, so we're gonna shoot him between his fucking eyes.
He gotta go, or he like incites some sort of incident and dies in the incident.
I mean, Jared, to your point, Kyle Solar did say that there's like a scene where like we see him. I mean, we obviously see him with his mom, but like there's more of that.
The actual.
Oh yeah, I think Alex said in his review. I did the thing Taylor talked about.
Mm-hmm.
We refer to Alex Jones by his first name in our personal conversations. That I confused him for a second. I was looking at the thumbnail for the clip too when I said it, and that's what distracted me. But like Alex said in his thing, like what you're referring to, the whole like Cyril says, or he said like Cyril's mom's like the stage mother from hell.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm listening.
I mean, she could be the reason. Like, we see how aggressive she is with her neighbors and stuff, and she seems a little unhinged. Like,
what are you staring at?
She could be like a Law and Order bootlicking, worshiping, like my son is a cop bumper sticker. Like, who knows? But yeah, it's an interesting thing.
She's got a Blue Lives Matter sticker.
I saw a meme on Twitter where it was something to the effect of Cyril Karn is the Star Wars embodiment of like you're talking to a future United States military vibe.
Yeah, 100%. He's 100% that energy. But he was a fascinating character, and he ties in directly. We were talking about with is it Farron, Mothma's husband, Farron?
Yeah.
Yes.
Farron too is like Cyril and Farron together are telling a complete story, and that story is an insult, and it's an insult that we need right now. Like they are both like together. They form this full picture of guys that are not Tarkin, Palpatine, and everything, but they're so pathetic. And it's something that I was talking about particularly with Cyril, or with Tim. Cyril and Tim in the first ones, like Cyril has it for the Empire. Like, brother, you're not even a stormtrooper, dude. You're not even a mud trooper, which we find out that Cassian was. He exaggerates how long, which I loved. I love that. Yeah, Luthen was like, "Don't bullshit me. All right, you were a cook, whatever." But the implication that Han and Cassian might have met even for a second is hilarious. That Cassian might have served Han some noodles.
Yeah,
noodles
at base is hilarious. Even for those 6 months, but the idea of you will never be one of them. They don't care. It's like, like Miami Republicans. You will never be one of them. And like Tim ratting out Cassian, they did not get to town and give you the finder's reward and say, "Thank you, citizen." No,
you got double tapped.
Yeah, you will never get in. So stop trying. It's an exclusive club, and that club is built on other people's necks.
And the flip side of that is the apathy of Mr. Mothma.
Yeah. Yeah. Who is one of them, even kind of, but even then it's like, "Oh, it's fun. Oh, it's fun." Like, what's fun about that? First of all, I'm loving all the joke Slymore tweets. Well done to everybody that pointed out how unfun Slymore looks. Like, at least Masameda's got a prehensile tongue and could probably like do funny shit like Jar Jar. Exactly.
just the crazed fucking.
Yeah. Also, Slymore has like base level telepathy. So it's like, I don't want them, her, them. I'm being genuine when I say that. I don't know. I don't want them anywhere near me anyway. But yeah, it's just a whole exploration of.
I'm sorry, that's another one with the Easter eggs. Like we call it, like we name dropped the Glup Shido from the Senate.
Yeah.
No Easter eggs.
No Easter eggs.
Yeah, no Easter eggs.
Literally, but again, no, but like literally, like.
No, I mean, Jared, we make that joke on For the Republic, my other podcast.
Yeah.
Like, that's our running bit right now.
Like Mothma, who is a main character of the show, a lead character, has an emotional reaction to these names that are Glup Shido names. Like, and as we point out here, like the Gorman stuff, like that is mentioned, her exact dialogue, I pulled it up. "We should find some Gorman guests for tonight. Your fun friends just cut off their shipping lanes." That goes beyond Easter egg into direct story threading.
Yep.
That's plot.
That's secret cargo.
That is legit prequelizing Star Wars Rebels. And for that to come from the Gilroy show that everyone insisted would be above this is hilarious to me and gratifying.
And then the line that kills me the most is after that line where she's like, "Oh, perhaps we could laugh about it over the third course." I like had an emotional reaction to that line. I was like, "Fuck, man."
Well,
dude, we all know a person like that.
It's such a fun twist. Like it is, and again, like we keep taking this idea of like, here are the people in this position. Now let's look at them from this perspective. Like we're getting all these nobodies, like Vel and everybody who Cassian's teaming up with. Now we're getting like the space bourgeois, that like friends in high places where like Mon Mothma has the luxury of being exasperated about her privilege.
Yeah.
Like that is such a fascinating moment where she's like talking about the third course, where she's aware there's a guilt there.
Yeah. And when you think about what she chooses, like she can't choose the circumstances of her birth. She comes from privilege. She comes from Shangri-La. And like this whole idea that by the time we get to Jedi, she's there with Han, Lando, Akbar, like all walks of life, the grit, the team that she leads, you know, just what is it total? So 9 years from now, the team that she leads like helps win this with fucking murder bears in the forest. Like she steps down all the way in. She doesn't like Luthen it. She's still Mothma. There's no duality of like who she is, but she abandons the pristine apartment and instead chooses to be on the run, on the ships, with the people, with Draven, with Cassian, with like she gets in because of disgust, which I love.
Yeah, and I saw some people who were like angry, and I didn't get a chance to read the full quote where like Gilroy said that Mon Mothma was a Nancy Pelosi type, and as somebody who recently made a rather controversial comparison of one other Star Wars character to Nancy Pelosi. Put on the Kentacloth, we will. Kneel in Congress, we must.
Oh no, God, no!
Fuck.
That's on the house.
That's getting clipped.
That's a clip. That's a clip for sure.
And send that to Speaker Pelosi. No, and I have my joke about like why Yoda's Nancy Pelosi, and we're not getting into that right now. But like Mon Mothma is still trying to do the like she's still operating in the system. What Mon Mothma's doing absolutely feels like Nancy Pelosi talking about how we need a strong Republican Party. Like,
yeah.
No,
like, I get what he means. Yeah. That's like, writer shorthand.
Yeah.
For she still shows up. Like Mon Mothma probably physically sees Sheev Palpatine like semi-frequently. Like at least once a month, I would imagine he shows up to the Senate chamber. I'm sure most of his time is in the palace, but like there's a reasonable like you could make that mental leap of like she sees these people. She's probably witnessed Darth Vader with her own eyes, like in a work setting, which is horrifying. So it's like Tarkin in a work setting. So it's like shit like that.
Arguably
that she has to deal
more
with.
Terrifying.
Yeah. So like I understand what he means. But she's gonna go through a change too. You know, she has not met Cassian Andor, which I guess like I feel like collectively as a fandom we've under discussed the Aldhani stuff. This shit is beautiful.
Oh, it's
phenomenal. The explanation of how they're going to use this every 3 years. You know, I know there's the scientific explanation of what actually happens, but it looks like
the celestial event.
I cannot wait to see this. I cannot wait. It sounds so beautiful.
It doesn't keep reminding me that it's Star Wars. There are few things that are more Star Wars than using natural phenomena as a weapon against the Empire.
Yeah, natural phenomenon that are you can use as an opportunity, but that opportunity is because the natural phenomena it causes communal unity every single time that it happens. Everyone gathers, everyone feels the hope, everyone feels the shine, everyone is like, wow, in awe. This guy's like, I've been lucky enough to see it twice. I've been here almost 7 years. I've seen it. It's everything that you've heard that it is. All that stuff and the Blue Kyber, like, is the show doing post magic, which is something that I love about certain fantasy things. Like Game of Thrones does that. Not House of the Dragon, because that was during magic, but Game of Thrones has this energy of like, you know, there used to be dragons. You know, there used to be giants. You know, there used to be this. And every now and then one rears its head. But it's always, that's the last giant. Oh, Daenerys having 3 dragons. That's a fucking miracle. Meanwhile, during House of the Dragon, there were like casually like 17 of them.
Take a shot when you see a dragon.
Yeah. That's what's like we know that somewhere out there the events of New Dawn are, you know, either happening or just happened, and that there is a Jedi and his, you know, Twilight girlfriend that are ramping up. We know that somewhere out there potentially is, because, you know, who knows what happens to Cal and Survivor, but that there's Cal Kestis out there. We know that there's the path. They don't. That Kyber is like shit, dude. Like I remember hearing
the strongest stars have hearts of Kyber.
And that too, like that, this is what I wanted it to do for the movie that I struggle with the most. Because now when Cassian, because doesn't Cassian remark or like have a look when Shird is doing that? Like, doesn't he kind of like, I feel like there's a moment.
I can't remember.
There's a little
something.
Beat, yeah, but I think
something like an acting choice. Like, but it's like everything is, again, it's a fucking tapestry, man. If you're not gonna listen to me about it, listen to Charles Soule. We just talked about that quote the other day, you and I, Connor. Like that whole idea of it all happened, whether you would have done the choices or not. How does it inform everything? Like this Aldhani rebellion, I loved their characterization as being desperate and small. Like they're intense small. There's not even a base. They're having campfires small, and how they have done such a great job of showing whether it's the Ghost crew, whether it's the crew of the Mantis, whether it's these Aldhani rebels, whether it's the Partisans,
These
the
small
Cloud Riders,
pockets.
and Solo, and not one of them is the same. They're all completely different approaches, aesthetics. Like there's no similarities between like the Ghost crew and like Enfys Nest's crew and this Aldhani group. Like they do not at all look like they should be on the same side, but they are. And that's part of the point. And the way that they all react, like you said at the beginning of this episode, Jared, like they all fall in line. They got problems, but they all fall in line because they keep emphasizing it took months of planning for what is it, a 9-minute in and out mission. They have 9 minutes. Like that's fucking Star Wars, man. That's the trench run.
Not unlike what Justin Timberlake and Madonna said. They only got 4 minutes to save the world.
Look, you joke, but that song is good.
It's an amazing song.
That song slaps. I have
incredible
on my phone, and people that know me know that I'm an old man. I buy songs, so that means I spent $1.29 or whatever it is.
I love I love the fact that like not. I mean, you have a very eclectic music sense.
Yeah,
I love like, hey, someone put Alden on the aux that I could get just like Madonna featuring Justin Timberlake 4 minutes.
It could be anything, dude. Like I'm looking at it right now. I got literally where it is because it's a number song, so it's like you've got Miley Cyrus, Paris Hilton off of the Repo the Genetic Opera soundtrack, Kiss, Madonna, Gracie Abrams, daughter of a guy that made some space movie, Bo Burnham, Tick Tick Boom soundtrack, Billie Eilish, Childish Gambino, Prince, and the In the Heights soundtrack. None of that makes sense to be together.
Just like the Rebellion.
But if you know exactly, and if
That's
you know
true.
any of those artists well enough, you could figure out what some of those were. That's a fun little game. Figure out everybody's number song.
What's the number song?
Yeah.
Which Gambino song is it? Because I think he has.
3005.
It's not 3005.
Oh, is it one of the ones from his weird album that came out?
It's
like
5349.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Love that song. Anyway,
Which
yeah.
one's 5340? Is that from his like weird like white album that came out at the beginning of the pandemic?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I
what's that album called?
I wasn't in love with that album. What was
that album called? It's self-titled. Yeah, it's just white.
Yeah, it's just like
it's a self-titled.
It has a name, and I can't remember what it is. Yeah, it's like 3:15:20.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You said 5349.
5349 is that song. Yeah.
2319.
Dude, if you did a song called 2319, I would have lost my mind.
That took me a minute. Now I know what it is. I had to pull it up.
But yeah. So this storyline was great. All those characters are great. Very interesting people. I love
for the heist.
I was very excited for the heist. It ends the most abruptly of all four. You know, Ken compared it to very Sopranos-y. It is like it literally is like, can I finish my food? Sure. Episode ends. Like it's just like it's the most like anti-ending. But I know
all sitting around the fire and like the jizz music version of "Don't Stop Believing's" playing on somebody's
100% exactly that. 100%. I will say one of my favorite things about this episode that doesn't matter but matters to like me and other Star Wars fans that love creatures. I love that they were like, can we get some creatures at this camp? And they were like, we got goats, and they were like, slap some horns in different directions. How do you make a goat look like it's in space? I don't know. Glue some horns on that fucker. I don't care. It's so
that was great.
or sheep, rather. I guess they're sheep with horns.
Yeah.
Same thing. But yeah, I think that's all we got. Alden, before we bring this bad boy home, plug your pluggables.
Oh, me? Okay. Hey, sorry.
Your name is Alden.
That's true.
You're that Alden Diaz.
I am that Alden Diaz, not the other Alden Diaz. That Alden Diaz.
That
because when you have another Twitter account, sometimes you have to do that, no matter who it offends. The Star Wars podcast, Octo Radio, AHCHTO Radio. That's my show, the main show.
Death to all of them.
That's Alden Diaz.
That's a good one. Octo Radio, we're doing Andor discussions. I'm in Florida right now. I'm honestly shocked that I haven't lost power right now, so I ended up
I know.
postponing.
I was like, this is a Hail Mary getting
I'm pretty stunned. Yeah, I'm pretty stunned right now. It's been a good run. We've been very lucky. Like the delta of like in Florida of like okay and not okay, just as an idea for anyone that's watching that maybe wants to make a donation to their local, hurricane relief charity. I have a friend in Miami, and we asked her, "How are you doing? Is there any flooding?" She said, "It has not rained on my apartment. 10 minutes away from her is a parking garage that was like an ocean." That's how much it varies. It varies literally by block sometimes. Like
Wow.
an hour north of Orlando. Some parts of Orlando are fucked and I'm not. And I'm here on a stream. Like it makes no sense. Florida is weird that way.
I had the Weather Channel on one of the TVs today at work.
Mm-hmm.
And the way my brain works is I keep getting ready to be like, I should like personally ask Alden and Trey if they're all right.
Yeah.
And then like you guys are just shit posting in the group chat. And I'm like, that house is upside down now.
It's like crazy, dude. Like there's people lost their
and you have a very
homes.
stable internet connection right now.
Yeah. And like I am completely unaffected. Our power hasn't even surged. Like it's been the craziest thing. Like I went outside this morning thinking there was gonna be backyard damage because we have lights that hang in the backyard and we have a whole thing. One broken branch, the whole thing. One teeny little branch on the corner of the backyard was hanging, snapped. That's it. So yeah, Octo Radio, Star Wars podcast, Andor review is postponed. I'm gonna have Mark P on. I am El Diablito on Twitter. And we're going to be doing 4 M5 together if all things go according to plan. Expect other interviews to come up. Lucasfilm's James Waugh is going to be coming on. Don't think that I haven't already like tried to put out a Gilroy feeler. I feel like that's going to be even harder than Ryan was to book, but I have tried. And we'll see if that happens. Rebels Rewatch will be back up and running soon. Casually Talk, Rings of Power, for Fridays as per the release schedule. Beginning of the week, House of the Dragon. Outside of that, follow me on Twitter at that Alden Diaz. Emphasis on the that. And then, yeah, you can let me know how much you don't like me or think that I made a meme account because you're not secure in your opinion. We can have fun with that all day.
Man, isn't it crazy that within a week of each other, we go from Andor Gate to like having a new villain arc?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
The thing I like the most about the anti-Scotty account, like as like again just like as a story arc for our friend group, is that like everybody's befuddled on this one. We have no answers.
I still think it's him.
You think it's him?
I still think it is until damning evidence comes out to prove otherwise. I think this is his masterstroke. Like he might go on a vacation after this, like because of how hard he's worked. Who knows?
You think he'll retire?
He'll never retire.
He'll just take an extended leave.
That guy will fake his own death as a bit. Like when I get news one day, I might be in another country and I'll get news that Grandpa, my grandson will come up to me. Grandpa, Scott Jarod passed away, and I'm gonna be like, bullshit. I need to see a body. I saw the ending of Dark Knight Rises. That guy is dead.
I will take that. I will take Dark Knight Rises and raise you Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
he will let himself get in the fucking casket, and only a Kryptonian will hear the heartbeat.
Yeah, like again, Superman's little moment of like, you son of a bitch.
Yep, 100%.
GG.
It is a GG moment. That's when like young Bruce and Clark come back. Is in that moment of like classic. Like
yeah. That is absolutely like the first time they mutually have like that throwback of like you peaked.
Yep.
Anyway, Connor, pluggables.
Twitter at @banana. I co-host another podcast called For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. We are doing our Andor episodes. It dropped today, and by today I mean Thursday, September 29th, which is when we're recording this. So go check that out, as well as check this out. But you're watching this already, so why am I saying that? We'll get back to our Clone Wars stuff whenever. Where else? Oh, I write trivia questions now for Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. That's really fun. We have our match with the Imperial Senate podcast coming up soon. That's going to be pretty cool. And sweditor.com/fiction. I don't have any stories published yet. I have a few in the works, but one I can talk about right now is called The Hidden Kyber. It's a story set shortly after the events of Fallen Order, and it stars Sir Junda and Cal Kestis. So
I'm going to be a piece of shit. Hey, Alden.
Yeah, buddy.
Who's your money on for the ISP match?
Oh, Nikki.
I'm going to make you. Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were going to struggle picking a child there. I didn't know.
No struggle whatsoever. No. Yeah, 100%. Nikki, again, barring an act of the wheel gods, I do think that he'll win. Which, interestingly enough, though, Claire was leading in polls, and Claire is an interesting case where, like, she's not a fan that can be pigeonholed. Like, you know, she has big love for like Return of the Jedi era stuff, of course, classic. Like, she loves like her creatures and her Salacious and all that, but like, my earliest memories of interacting with her were Clone Wars based and animation based. So it's like, I don't know where she could go. I definitely know where Charlie will go. And I'm pretty confident I know where Nikki will go. But I think that Nikki wins. I think.
stay tuned.
I will say that he's doing game tape.
Interesting.
I told him he's going to go back and watch me versus Michael. I know that at least for sure, because he wants to know exactly how it's played. Like, he's getting in. So
I almost did the thing I made fun of myself for not too long ago.
I'm just excited for the questions.
I almost instinctively called it the second place invitational again.
Funny how that worked out, huh?
Yeah. Forgetting how our match. Like, listen, I have no problem losing to you.
And also, like, let the record show again.
That was a hard match.
Wins and losses are one thing, but like, again, like percentage, I don't know. Eli probably has calculated who has percentage of correct, incorrect, highest, and all that.
Oh, he does.
I'm the number one ranked, but only in win loss, because our match was nasty. Like, it was not high scoring, and it was
that was brutal.
It was a limp to the finish for both people. So
our match looked like the final battle of like a Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie.
We went to completely different places.
Where'd you go?
I was, in my mind, I was like, you said our match was like, and I was like when Pikachu and Pikachu were slapping the shit out of each other at the end of the first movie. And they're crying before they're like, Pika! Before they cry, before their tears bring Ash back to life. Which, what the fuck? Like
the power of love, baby. Or
I still cannot. So a bunch of Pokemon that were born naturally and a bunch of clone Pokemon are all going hard, beefing, fighting their doppelgangers, and this motherfucker is turned to stone and is dead. Some Greek shit happens.
He gets Loden Great Stormed.
Jesus.
I'm stealing that for a tweet. Is that okay?
Go for it.
I'll credit you. I want to put the image of Ash in stone and be like, Loden Great Storm. After. God.
Loden Great Storm. However, BBY.
Yeah, Elfrona, all that. Yeah. But the
230.
Not Elfrona. He's not turned to Elfrona.
No, it's on
Valo. On Valo. Yeah. He's
Valo.
Captured on Elfrona. He's turned.
Yeah, it's 231 BBY because it's like a year after.
It's not on Valo. Valo's where the fair happens.
Yeah, that's where it is.
It is still Valo.
Yeah, Rising Storm.
There's a base out in Valo. Like, after they mop up the fair, they all go. Or maybe they do
went to a
leave.
different world. I thought they would go to a different
No,
planet.
Connor, he might be right. I think they do leave.
Let me check.
Yeah, go to the Rising Storm on Wookiee while I say this. So
Y'all are
then
never gonna get me on a High Republic planet ever again. I'm like Doomsday. You can't kill me the same way twice.
my resolve has never been stronger.
Yeah, Cookie Cop was motherfucking me over here. He's like, you get this wrong. I swear to God.
So this guy Ash is Medusa'd. And then then you got Picard, slapping
Yeah,
the shit
no,
out
it's
of
not
each other.
Valo. It's Gryzel that he died on.
Gryzel, exactly.
Yeah.
Gryzel. They have their base on Gryzel. And then that's when Mewtwo drops the hardest line written possibly since like Shakespeare's Macbeth 400 years ago. The whole like, it is not the circumstances of one's birth. Like that whole fucking thing. I remember watching that as a kid and being like, I don't think this is about like Pokemon anymore. Like it was like a really if you guys ever do TNAP commentaries, that's the one to do for sure. Like Mewtwo quote, it's gonna come up a Mewtwo quote about life. When you write Mewtwo quote, it comes up. I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are. Nolan ripped off Mewtwo, is what I've just realized.
Sensational.
I'm done.
Okay. You guys. I just in my mind, I'm stuck because I just like can't stop playing like Alden going Pika. Like it's looping in my brain and it won't go away.
Those were open hand bitch slaps that those Pikachus are doing. Pika! It's so painful, dude.
This amuses me.
Shit.
Where can people find you, Jarrett?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can also find Alden and I on the all remaining system Star Wars RPG series Ionized Bastards. First 2 episodes are out now. We are having a blast with that series. It is some of the most fun I have had recording ever. I've said before, I haven't been able to do theater for the longest time, and this is and like I get to act a little bit again. You know, it's a lot of fun. I play a rogue ex-Jedi named Fabian Martell, who I realized,
Name goes hard.
Thank you. Thank you. I also realized very quickly that I put way more thought and effort into my character's backstory than I probably needed to.
You think that, but I thought I did. I didn't put as much as you, and I thought I had put a decent amount, and then it ended up fucking me in this last one. So it ended up being important. So
I do not want to spoil anything. Alden, you and I might be equally fucked. Like, I know, like, none of the party knows, like, the secret origins of Fabian Martell. And I will say that Michael kind of encouraged me on that one. I was like, oh, yeah, secret backstory. And Michael's like, yeah, secret backstory. And I was like, okay, you are enabling me.
Yeah.
So go check that out on the All Remaining Systems YouTube channel. It's me, it's Alden, it's Michael McCoy GMing the game. And, pardon me, Dan Miller from Baraxium in there as well.
Nice.
You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, and at the nerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Give me $1. That's my other favorite.
Shouts out the man, the myth, the legend.
That's so good.
But yeah, speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Nick Johnson, Keandre Lloyd,
It's the backflip in the front.
So good. And to Paco, or as he's going right now, Taylor Swift.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
You know me. You know how much I love the scream turning into like a toad sound. How it just falls off.
With the supplements. And then from the front lines of the information war, this is Alex Jones. Oh, Homeboy's getting massacred in court. I know I said that last week, but I just need to reiterate. Homeboy is getting slaughtered in court. And will be taking the stand again next week, I believe. So look forward to him getting excoriated again. Next week, TNAP proper should be back. We have a lot to talk about. I also, again, time depending, Travis is incredibly busy. My schedule is weird at the moment. We might have one final number one contender to discuss the final Schmodown Spectacular, which is this Saturday. I can't even say that without getting a little verklempt. I'm having a bad day on Saturday. But yeah, stay tuned for all that. Like I said, we'll have more details if we're going to be able to pull off a final number one contender. I'd like for that show to go out on a high note. But yeah, thank you all so very much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. Hit that a little too early. Do all the things. Go check out everything Alden's doing. Go watch Ionized Bastards, and may the Force be with you always.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!